Soon after a flight coming from Tel Aviv, Israel, landed at Russia's Makhachkala, the Muslim-majority area in Republic of Dagestan, on Sunday night, hundreds of armed Muslim protesters stormed the airport, chanting anti-Israeli slogans and looked for Jewish passengers in the flight to kill them. Pertinently, this is not the first time that such anti-Jewish protests are being carried out since the eruption of Israel-Hamas war. Pro-Palestine protests have shocked and rekindled the fears of Jews in Europe, Australia, United States, France, and universities and colleges around the world. In one of the videos that went viral on social media, the extremist mob was charging towards the plane. However, a flight attendant immediately rushed the passengers back into the plane to ensure their safety. To control the violent mob of Islamic extremists, police personnel were called to the scene. The mob could be seen holding Palestinian flags while chanting Allahu Akbar and other anti-Semitic slogans. The Foreign Ministry in Jerusalem released a statement that the Israeli ambassador to Moscow was working with Russian authorities on the matter. Condemning the violent act, the Foreign Ministry stated that the State of Israel views grave attempts to harm Israeli citizens and Jews anywhere. It added that Israel expects the Russian authorities to ensure the safety of its citizens, urging them to take a robust action against the rioters and unbridled incitement being directed at Jews and Israelis. According to an Israeli media report, an eyewitness sharing his audio said that around 50 armed men approached the plane, asking if there were Jews among the passengers. The Israeli Public Broadcasting Corporation reported that few Israelis and Jews were isolated during the protests at the airport. The violent protests at the Russian airport occurred after the extremist Islamic mob received messages on Telegram channel to avenge Gaza, informing the rioters about the flight arriving at Dagestan airport and asking them to confront the passengers coming from Israel. Following the incident, the airport was closed for subsequent flights and security forces guarded the site. All the flights flying towards Makhachkala airport had to be diverted. Foreign affairs expert Rebecca Koffler said that the current situation could become a huge problem for Russian President Vladimir Putin if they fail to contain the protests. Koffler said that for 20 years, Putin has pursued largely pro-Jewish and pro-Israel policies, and if he is unable to contain the violence, it will spill over and destabilize Muslim-populated regions in Russia and may even spark terrorism in bigger cities again. With the onset of Israel-Hamas war, a wave of anti-Semitism has been unleashed by Muslims in Europe against Jewish people. Hundreds and thousands of protesters are carrying out demonstrations in support of Palestinian civilians while showcasing hatred towards Jews. Similarly, in New York, which is home to hundreds of thousands of Muslims, in the past week have been rocked by demonstrations, rallies and vigils. Shockingly, Jewish students at New York's Cooper Union College were locked in their school's library for 20 minutes as pro-Palestinian demonstrators pounded on the doors and shouted anti-Israel slogans. Meanwhile, in Australia's Sydney Opera House, recently a small group chanted anti-Semitic slogans as around thousands of pro-Palestinian supporters marched through downtown Sydney. These sudden eruptions of anti-Jewish and anti-Semitic protests around the world has deeply affected the Jewish community around the world as they face demonstrations, assaults, and violence against themselves.